Alan Stratton from Aswood Turns. Last weekend I had the opportunity to visit the Chihuly Museum, which contains a lot of glass art. At this time, particularly glass art by Australian glass artists. I was inspired. It was a lot of beautiful glass work, none of it very functional, but beautiful art nonetheless. I thought, why should I let the Aussies have all the fun? I like wood, I like glass, but let's do something like they did, but let's do it in wood. What do we call this? I don't know. Melted cone, slump cone, I don't know. Totally useless, totally non-functional, but yet beautiful. And let's show you how to make this piece of art.
The first order of business is to cut the segments. Each ring has 8 segments cut at 22.5 degrees. I've set up a chop saw at an angle and a stop block to gauge the segment length. Next is to glue the segments into half rings. For me, it's next to impossible to cut segments accurately enough to glue them all at once. So I'll glue them into half rings first, then sand the flat side of the half ring. Finally, for the segment rings, I'll glue the 2 halves together and reclamp. With all the rings glued up, they need to be trued up. I'm sanding one side of each ring on a home-built sanding disc. It's made from a steel faceplate and a 20-inch aluminum plate. It's really nice when sanding the face of segments. With one side flat, I'll tape the rings to a board with double stick tape and run them through a thickness sander to achieve a uniform thickness. Normally, I would exercise great care when gluing the rings into a stack and do it one at a time. However, the stack for this project is offset anyway. The only thing to pay attention to is to rotate each ring 1/2 segment with respect to its neighbor. I'll glue these all at once, but mark alignment points with some blue tape. About 65 pounds of weight should be enough to clamp it together. The base is 3 layers of MDF for waist rings. Then at the bandsaw, I'm sawing a 20-degree angle through the waist MDF, then sand the base flat, mount it to a faceplate with hot melt glue, and add a couple of layers of pine to the top. This whole layout is confusing and difficult to visualize. Finally, at the lathe, I get to do some turning. Everything is at an odd angle. The pine likes to splinter. I'll keep the tailstock in place for a measure of safety, then gradually smooth out the exterior. In the pine section, I'll cut a tenon that I'll use later to reverse mount the cone. Easy does it. I cannot afford any bad catches or miscuts. I'll start with a gouge and later switch to a carbide cutter. The walnut is all face grain, but it alternates with nasty MDF. Nice shavings from the walnut, awful dust from the MDF. Finally, I'll remount the cone using the tenon in a 4-jaw chuck. Since I'm a bit nervous about whether the pine can hold the cone, I'll keep the tailstock in place until near the end of the hollowing. Still, easy does it. I don't want any heavy cuts with this weird glue up. I'll work from the large end with a square and then round carbide bit. Finally, with most of the hollowing completed, I'll cut away the nub for the tailstock and finish the hollowing. Then I'll sand and finish the cone with walnut oil. Then let the oil dry overnight. Then finally, carefully saw away the MDF base and pine top. Then sand and oil again. And voila! The special challenge was to visualize the project. It would have been easy to make a cone with the segment rings horizontally and then saw off the base at an angle. However, I think having the grain run horizontally to the finished piece contributes a lot to its appeal. Next time, I would not use MDF. It was very nasty to turn and even more nasty to sand. This sort of project, however, opens a whole world of alternatives that I'll have to explore. Where could it go next? Be sure to like this video and subscribe to my website and YouTube channel. Safe turning makes for good turning. Please wear your face shield. Until next time, this is Alan Stratton from As Wood Turns.